This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours. Curated by Lizzie Jennings and read by an automated voice. Published July 31st, 2026 on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Here's today's news. Israel-Hamas war. President Trump said yesterday that the Board of Peace had reached an agreement for Hamas to begin disarming in Gaza, but did not provide details. The Board of Peace later said that Hamas had agreed to a detailed roadmap on disarmament and Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. A senior Trump advisor told reporters that the disarmament process would begin in the next month or so, while the overall plan requires Hamas and Israel to complete a series of reciprocal and independently verified steps over roughly 7 to 8 months. Hamas official Ghazi Hamad confirmed to Al Jazeera that difficult negotiations had produced an agreement, adding, "We will not take any steps regarding disarmament before Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip." Israel has yet to acknowledge the plans publicly. Katie Rogers and Pranav Bhaskar report for The New York Times. Maya Ward reports for Politico. Barak Ravid reports for Axios. Iran war. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi yesterday urged Bulgaria to reconsider its decision to allow the temporary deployment of U.S. military aircraft at the Vestner air base, according to Iranian state media. Araghchi told Bulgarian Foreign Minister Velislava Petrovich that Sofia's approval of the U.S. request amounted to facilitating aggression against Iran. Araghchi also spoke to Cypriot Foreign Minister Konstantinos Kambos and stressed the importance of preventing foreign military bases in Cyprus from being used against Iran. Reuters reports. Iran war, Yemen. The Saudi Ministry of Defense yesterday met with nearly 50 countries in Riyadh to establish a multinational maritime defense coalition, the Saudi Arabian embassy in the United States said on social media. The group met to discuss the need to secure shipping routes in the Bab al-Mandab Strait, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden. The Saudi Defense Ministry said 14 countries gave their support for the coalition, including Turkey, Egypt, Pakistan, and Nigeria. Mira Bakhta reports for The Hill. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis attacked Saudi Arabia this week from Iraqi territory, in coordination with Iraqi armed groups, according to assessments by Saudi Arabia and regional partners. The assessments, which differ from official accounts, indicate that members of Iran's so-called Axis of Resistance have strengthened their ties, two officials in the region said. The officials added that the strikes were carried out under the supervision of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Timur Azhari and Mohammad Gobari report for Reuters. Iran war. Other developments. Investigators believe a cyber attack this week on dozens of municipal water systems in Minnesota was probably the work of Iranian hackers, according to U.S. and state officials. Investigators also warned that the hackers could be posing as Iran-based in an effort to increase tensions between the two countries, though former intelligence officials said this was unlikely. Dustin Voles and Ernesto Londono report for The New York Times. Russia-Ukraine war. Trump yesterday told the Financial Times that he was not sure whether Washington would grant Ukraine a license to produce Patriot missiles, adding, "We're looking at it." Trump's comments come 2 days after he met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House, following which Zelensky said Trump accepted he will give us licenses. Sudanese civil war. An AP News investigation reports first-hand accounts from 6 former child soldiers who say they were abducted and forced to fight for the Sudanese Rapid Support Forces. The report also alleges that Colombian mercenaries trained some child soldiers and supported the RSF. Sam Mednick, Isabel Debris, and Astri Suarez report. Other global developments. Spain and Morocco have reinforced security around the Spanish enclave of Ceuta today, after more than 49,000 people arrived by land and sea in a day, with at least 19 dead bodies found in the water, Michael Francis Gore, and Ahmed El-Jektimi, report for Reuters. The EU has agreed plans to establish a maritime rescue coordination center in the eastern Libyan city of Benghazi, using funding from Italy and Malta. EU Ambassador to Libya, Nicola Orlando, said yesterday. While the EU formally recognizes only the Tripoli-based government, it has stepped up contacts with authorities in eastern Libya since last year, as migrant departures from areas controlled by military commander Khalifa Haftar in eastern Libya have risen, Reuters reports. Human Rights Watch said today that Russian paramilitary group Afrika Korps killed 8 civilians, including 3 children, in Mali last month. The rights group called the airstrikes on the village of Kirnia unlawfully indiscriminate, adding that there did not seem to be any specific military objectives. Portia Crow reports for Reuters. The United Kingdom's Supreme Court yesterday announced that it will hear an appeal against a lower court ruling that Britain's decision to proscribe Palestine Action as a terrorist organization was lawful, Reuters reports. Tech developments. Anthropic said yesterday that 3 of its AI models recently broke into the systems of 3 outside organizations. The attacks, which date as far back as April, were discovered when Anthropic carried out a review of its systems. Anthropic said that its technology had not purposefully broken out of its testing environment, but rather that people running the tests had left Anthropic's systems connected to the Internet. Mike Isaac and Kate Conger report for the New York Times. Chinese military researchers have used outputs from leading AI models developed by OpenAI and Anthropic to train domestic AI systems to advance China's defense capabilities, according to a Reuters review of more than 80 Chinese academic papers and patents. The documents show widespread use of a technique known as model distillation, in which outputs from a powerful AI system are used to train smaller, specialized models that can be deployed locally without the enormous computing requirements needed to build frontier AI systems from scratch. Eduardo Baptista report. U.S. Foreign Affairs. The U.S. delegation at a global AIDS conference in Brazil this week displayed a map of Africa, in which it wrongly labeled each of the 6 African countries that receive U.S. health funding. Reuters authenticated an image of the map and said a watermark indicated it was generated by AI. The State Department blamed a team member who hastily altered the slide deck immediately before the presentation. In a statement, the department took full responsibility for the confusion and misrepresentation it caused for conference attendees. Sammy Westphal reports for The Washington Post. Vice President J.D. Vance and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had a one-on-one meeting in Washington on Tuesday evening to discuss their differences, Israeli and U.S. officials said. An Israeli official said it was a frank and candid conversation. A U.S. official confirmed the characterization, saying the conversation was direct. Barak Ravid reports for Axios. U.S. immigration developments. The Trump administration is considering charging a $100,000 fee to international students who want to work in the United States after they graduate, according to sources. The fee would be attached to a program called Optional Practical Training, which allows international university graduates to work for 1 to 3 years on their student visas. Michelle Hackman reports for The Wall Street Journal. Thousands of unaccompanied migrant children could lose legal representation as soon as today, as the federal government contract with the Acacia Center for Justice expires, advocates and lawyers told ABC News. The deadline comes as legal providers say the administration has withheld $65 million in overdue fees, alleging it is an attempt to force them to turn over confidential information about the migrant children they represent. 2 more federal appeals courts issued rulings yesterday against the Trump administration's policy of detaining immigrants and holding them indefinitely without a bond hearing. Mattathias Schwartz reports for The New York Times. U.S. domestic developments. The Senate Education Committee yesterday approved a bipartisan bill that would block the executive branch from gutting the Education Department. However, competing legislation in the House would instead codify many of the administration's actions, and Trump is unlikely to sign into law a measure that directly undermines his policy agenda. Michael C. Bender reports for the New York Times. Trump's nominee to oversee the parent agency of Voice of America, Sarah B. Rogers, said yesterday that if the Senate confirmed her, she would bring back many of the journalists who were placed on paid leave since last year. Rogers also told the lawmakers that the parent organization, U.S. Agency for Global Media, would oversee a careful, tactical resuscitation of resources to parts of Africa, especially in the Sahel region, where Russia and China have engaged in heavy propaganda campaigns. Minho Kim reports for the New York Times. ABC accused Federal Communications Commission Chair Brendan Carr of attempted censorship in a regulatory filing posted yesterday, saying the agency is creating a potential chilling effect across the media by helping Trump attack his perceived adversaries. John Hendel reports for Politico. Trump administration actions. Trump yesterday threatened to temporarily withdraw Todd Blanche's nomination to become Attorney General. I have no objection to temporarily withdrawing Todd's name if they do not do the right thing, and putting him back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office, Trump said on social media. Glenn Thrush, Michael Gold, and Carl Hulse report for the New York Times. The Pentagon is considering a draft proposal that would eliminate tenure for civilian faculty at U.S. military academies and war colleges, while reviewing all courses to ensure they directly support warfighting, with programs deemed non-essential or ideologically driven potentially being removed. The memorandum, labeled Refocusing the Military Service Academic and Senior Service College on Warfighter Education, has not yet been approved by top Pentagon officials. James Laporta and Eleanor Watson report for CBS News. In case you missed it, yesterday on Just Security, the Israel-Lebanon Framework Agreement returned to the Land for Peace formula by Yuval Shany and Amichai Cohen. AI in the Military Domain, Multilateralism at a Crossroad by Tobias Vestner and Simon Cleobury. Thank you for listening to Just Security's early edition today, July 31st, 2026. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org. Subscribe to Just Security on Substack and follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.